A draft opinion suggests the U.S. Supreme Court could be ready to overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade case that legalized abortion nationwide.
Someone leaked the draft to Politico yesterday. A decision to overrule Roe would lead to abortion bans in roughly half the states.
Justice Samuel Alito wrote the draft. He's a member of the court's 6-3 conservative majority and was appointed by former President George W. Bush. The document was labeled a first draft of the, quote, opinion of the court in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. That case challenges Mississippi's ban on abortion after 15 weeks.
In effect, the draft states there is no constitutional right to abortion services and would allow individual states to more heavily regulate or outright ban the procedure. Critics of those measures have said low-income women will bear the burden.
Under this decision, our children will have less rights than their parents. The Republican-appointed justices' reported votes to overturn Roe v. Wade will go down as an abomination.
The draft opinion suggests when justices met in private shortly after arguments in the case December 1st, at least 5 voted to overrule. Alito was assigned to write the court's majority opinion. Several Republican-led states recently pushed to restrict abortion access ahead of this decision from the court. Oklahoma is the most recent. Analysts call the Politico report an extremely rare breach of the court's secretive deliberation process.
Who at the Supreme Court will trust each other now if they know that their drafts are going to be leaked, just like everything else in Washington?
Demonstrators who both support and oppose abortion rights gathered outside the U.S. Supreme Court last night and today. The official ruling is expected before the court's term ends in late June or early July.
Washington is the only place where people are making their voices heard. There have been demonstrations all over the country.
ABC's Faith Abube takes a look at the potential impact.
Overnight, hundreds breaking out in emotional demonstrations outside the U.S. Supreme Court, moments after a stunning leak of a first draft opinion suggesting a majority of the justices on the nation's highest court are set to strike down federal abortion rights that have been enshrined in law for almost 50 years.
If the rationale of the decision as released were to be sustained, a whole range of rights are in question. And the idea we're letting the states make those decisions would be a fundamental shift in what we've done.
The preliminary Supreme Court opinion published by Politico apparently shows a 5-4 conservative majority ready to uphold Mississippi's ban on abortions after 15 weeks. But the draft goes even further to overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision and the 1992 ruling Planned Parenthood v. Casey that reaffirmed a woman's right to an abortion. Justice Samuel Alito, the apparent author of the opinion, writing, quote, "It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives." The unprecedented leak has already sent a jolt across the country, angering abortion rights advocates. Planned Parenthood with a scathing reaction saying, quote, "It's outrageous, it's unprecedented, but it's not final. Abortion is your right, and it's still legal." The leaked draft document coming as several states have enacted restrictions on abortion rights. And if federal protections are overturned, more than a dozen states are poised to join them, immediately banning abortions, despite a new ABC News Washington Post poll showing 54% of Americans do not believe Roe v. Wade should be overturned.
That was Faith Abube reporting. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts released a statement this morning. He's ordered a full investigation into the source of the leak.